So, now we have the question of France. The main French war plan for World War I is called Plan 17, which means that there were 16 plans before that. And the question is, what does this plan eventually do? Effectively, it does Germany the favor it believed France would never do, which is plan to station the French army on the frontier, attack into Alsace-Lorraine, and then head north to strike at Germany and eventually Berlin. In spite of all the fortresses that used to be French forts but are now German forts, regardless of that, that was the plan. But that took some time to develop. Plan 14, developed it by 1898, actually the idea was to defend the French frontier, of course, yes, but it was not to attack into Alsace and Lorraine, because they felt that rightly so, that they would be outnumbered by Germany, and that would make a difficult offensive. They could have a bigger army if they had more reservists, but the fear was that they couldn't trust those reservists, because those reservists might be socialist or might be corrupting influences. They might not be very good. And the French like to believe in their esprit de corps and their élan de guerre. And in fact, the aggressive nature of their soldiers, and in fact, a number were dismissed and disciplined in the early days of the First World War for lacking that élan de guerre. Plans 15 and 15B and eventually Plan 16 change some of this. One, they start to incorporate a more subordinate role for reservists, so understanding the need for more bodies and whether they liked it or not, reservists are going to be a part of it. By 1905, France passed a conscription law, which required 2 years of service for every able-bodied man. And it planned for a large French presence at the Belgian border as well as on the French frontier with Germany. Basically, planning. See this little hinge here? It looks like I don't know, like a desk lamp or something on this pivot point here. But this pivot here, okay, that's a pivot. You've got the French army defending against the Belgian frontier and the German frontier, and in fact, it had a large French presence here at the Belgian border, expecting that perhaps Germany might take advantage of this. And in fact, one French general, Victor Michel, created a plan in 1911, 3 years before the outbreak of war, that he proposed. Now, this plan was rejected, but he wanted to take the reservists and insert reserve units and amalgamate them or insert them into existing regular army units as a way of dissipating maybe the inexperience of the reservists and equally balancing it and helping it benefit from the knowledge of trained, battle-hardened regular army soldiers. Now, he also wanted to deploy along the frontier basically from Switzerland to the North Sea. So basically, this would have a strong French army presence along the German frontier and the Belgian frontier all the way to the North Sea. By the way, this will pretty much look like the line of the Western Front. These guys didn't know about the Schlieffen Plan. They didn't know anything about it. But they also wanted extra strength here at Belgium, according Victor Michel's plan did, and even planned perhaps an offensive into Belgium, expecting the Germans might try to come around this way. So basically, if this had been France's war plan, it would have had an army prepared to intercept Germany in its big flanking, wheeling movement, the 2/3 of the movement. So the big battleground would have been in Belgium, and that whole Schlieffen plan would have been smoked out and damaged. However, Victor Michel's plan, while he proposed it, was not endorsed. Michel's politics were not favored. He was a Republican. He wasn't conservative enough, and basically he wound up being pretty much dismissed and not trusted. The plan that's adopted a year before the war, really, by April of 1913, by General Joseph Joffre, was a gamble. It was a gamble that Germany would take its diplomatic relations and responsibilities very seriously and would not violate Belgian neutrality, understanding of the grave consequences of doing so involving England, Russia, France, and others guaranteeing Belgian sovereignty. In fact, he felt that they wouldn't gamble it so that the real problem is here. And France wanted to have the upper hand on Germany, so it would plan for an attack to Alsace-Lorraine and then move north to go after Berlin. The other thing that started to happen is that as the French started their conscription act, right, in 1905, the 2-year service, Germany developed a conscription act. And when they developed a conscription act from 1911 to 1913, which conscripted more soldiers into the army, France upped the ante. And in 1913, as you've been reading about, made a 3-year conscription instead of a 2-year conscription. Now, what's France's assurance? They do have assurance from Belgium or from England that if Belgian neutrality was ever violated, it would send the British Expeditionary Force, the British Army, to stand pat on the French left. So if this is the French army according to war plan going this way, the French left would be here. So the BEF would be charged with this. That's a big responsibility. France also wants help from Russia. If France can plan on a Russian attack on Germany, it would mean that Germany can't spare or send all of its army after France. So the sooner Russia attacks, Germany will have to divert forces away from France and defend against the large Russian army. That would open up the space here to go after Berlin, capture it, and hopefully smash the German army, or at least gain the surrender. Russia probably frustrated the hell, well, not probably, did frustrate the hell out of the French. And, didn't really give much by the way of assurances until it was later. And in fact, the French felt that even though Britain never had a formal written document with France, its guarantees seemed to be much more solid. But that is the French battle plan as of 1914. Plan 17.